Hi, welcome to the Break Room Podcast. This is me, Jason, and here I am with Pizzo.
Hello. How you doing?
And we are co-hosts to this podcast. So,
just kidding.
Not really.
Are we co-hosts to the podcast? Or are we the actual hosts to this podcast?
I think we're co-hosts.
I'm pretty sure we're the hosts.
There's two hosts, so we're co-hosts.
We're both the hosts, though.
There can't be two hosts. There are two co-hosts.
Fine. All right. As a group, we're equally one host altogether.
As a pair.
Sure, a pair. No, fine, whatever. Co-host. Co-host it is. The Break Room Podcast, everybody. Welcome, and today we're going to be talking about something called artificial fear.
Recently, I heard someone went to an assembly at a school, and they were told that Juul pods, like the vapes, the nicotine count is equal to 100 cigarettes, which just isn't true at all. There's about 41.3 or 0.2 milligrams of nicotine in a Juul pod, but cigarettes contain about 8 to 20 milligrams per cigarette. So even if you take the bare minimum, 800 or 8 milligrams, that's 800 milligrams of nicotine compared to 42 about. So
Damn.
That's just blatantly false. Now, I don't think kids should be using Juuls or any nicotine things, but I don't think we should be lying to them. I think we should be providing actual reasons for you to not use it rather than just lies. So that got me thinking about the D.A.R.E program, which was it still is an anti-drug program that tried to reduce the drug usage of kids. So there's a study. Well, there's multiple studies, but
yeah, there's a shit ton of studies. There's an S-word amount of studies.
So it was started in 1983, where police officers would go into schools and talk to kids and try to talk them out of ever trying drugs. It turned out that the D.A.R.E program had little effects. In some cases, it increased drug usage.
Well, like, altogether, didn't it actually just increase drug usage just by piquing interest in...
It's hard to say, but
like
it's for sure that it did not reduce drugs significantly. In some areas, it did increase. But the point is that the program failed. It did not accomplish what it set out to do. So
their slogan is teaching students to resist drugs and violence. Ooh, spooky.
Yeah.
Which is, it's cool and all to, resist drugs and violence, but I'm sorry, D.A.R.E, but you didn't fucking do that.
And why didn't they do that?
They didn't do that?
Can you give me 5 reasons?
Do you want 5 reasons?
I want 5 reasons. Or
those five,
not
the 5
reasons,
reasons, like
5 lies.
Yeah, I was gonna say the 5 lies they said, to get people, to resist drugs and violence, and they said marijuana being a gateway drug. They said,
Well, let's start with that.
All right.
So, personally, do you believe that marijuana is a gateway drug?
I don't believe so. No, and I think that because the addiction rate, I believe, for marijuana is only 9% for first-time users. And I think it was heroin, it was like 23% for first-time users, which, kind of does seem low, but it's also high.
Low, but,
I mean, I guess there is a chance that you can get addicted to marijuana, but I guess once you get addicted to the marijuana, with that 9% chance on the first try, supposedly.
The important thing is that you can't become physically addicted to marijuana, but you can become mentally addicted.
Well, do you know about, like, the withdrawals and, like, the pros and cons of marijuana? Like,
what withdrawals?
Well, I'm just saying, is there any withdrawals to, like, you said there's no, what'd you just say, like, physical demand? Like,
there's no physical addiction to it.
Addiction.
There's
so that
nothing,
means physically there is no withdrawal.
There's nothing like nicotine or something like that makes your body dependent on it. So,
well, what makes your body dependent on it is Like, that's exactly where withdrawal comes from.
Yeah. So there are no real withdrawals from it. Some users report like trouble sleeping and stuff like that within the first week or so. But that's probably more of a mental thing than physical.
There's
if
more
you look
factors than the actual chemical balance going.
If someone quits smoking cigarettes, then they might like have shakes or stuff like that. That would be a physical withdrawal. So, why do you think people say that marijuana is a gateway drug?
Well, just like D.A.R.E said it to get you to resist drugs, but I think a lot of other people say it just so you don't actually go and do it, just because I guess as a society, we say that weed is extremely bad no matter how old you are, and I definitely don't condone any teenager to smoke weed. Like, just because I know there's actually a lot of drawbacks to smoking weed. I'm not trying to be that type of person that's fucking pro weed, but you know, over 25, that's fine. Basically, 25 is when your brain's fully developed. So yeah, even I guess at 21 it still does affect you, but a lot less when you're 12 years old. Like, if you're little Tay at 9 years old saying you smoke trees every freaking day.
So do you believe that the legal age for smoking should be 25?
If we were to ever legalize it, and then yeah,
it is legalized in
Colorado, right?
A few states. The age is 21. I believe in Canada, I believe it's like 18 or 19 for purchasing marijuana. It might be 21, but I'm pretty sure it's 18, 19. But why do you think the weed age should be 25, but alcohol is 21?
Well, the reason why alcohol is 21 is because when you're at age 21, that's when your liver is fully developed to actually process alcohol.
But your brain isn't fully developed at 21.
No, it's not. But at least it still affects you way less than when the younger you are, the less developed your brain is. At least until 25. If you're an average person.
But either drug, alcohol or weed, will harm brain growth if you're 21. So why just weed at 25?
Why just weed? I don't believe alcohol messes with your brain, and it actually metabolizes faster. Like,
you don't think it harms brain growth? You don't believe alcohol hurts that?
Honestly, I haven't even really looked into alcohol more than I have weed. I mean, no. I haven't really looked into alcohol, but I have actually looked into, side effects of weed and the marijuana. So, I can't say for sure, but judging from what I've seen, it doesn't actually seem like that's the case, especially since it's federal in United States, where the law for alcohol is 21 and up. Because, the reason they give for that is that's when your liver, is
I think it's mature. Also because of brain growth. It's less harmful to a 21-year-old than it is a 12-year-old. But, there's still potentially some harmful effects. Well, but
I can't say I've ever heard a case where someone said, "Oh, I just drank so much, now I have brain damage."
Well, it's not from drinking anything. One time. It's from excessive drinking, or regular drinking.
Well, we can also talk about being addicted to alcohol. Having an alcohol addiction, right? So, with an alcohol addiction, you're dependent on it. Well, actually,
I believe you can become physically addicted.
Yeah, with actual physical withdrawals. It's not that funny, but all right. I just want to mention, if we're wrong in any case, I would love personally
please call us out.
Yeah, honestly, please call us out. If there's anything that you'd like to criticize us about, go ahead.
We do our research, but
we don't know everything. We're not the smartest people on the planet.
There's certain points that we don't see or
views.
Yeah, so feel free to call us out or just tell us where we're wrong or anything like that.
You can tell us we're freaking retarded.
That's right.
Not the R word. I'm not editing that out.
So D.A.R.E claimed marijuana as a gateway drug, but scientists had doubts about that since the 90s, apparently. So, in a 1999 report by the Institute of Medicine of the National Academy of Sciences, they concluded that no conclusive evidence that marijuana had any particular pharmacological properties that would encourage subsequent use of other drugs. Now, I believe that it is seen as a gateway drug because it's one of the most mild illegal drugs. So, can you tell me?
Wait, you do believe that it is a gateway drug?
No, I don't believe. I think it's seen as that because it's so common and it's mild. So, I think any skepticism would be fixed if it became legal. Because why do you think that most people
became legal?
Yeah, because then it wouldn't be an illegal drug in the same category as cocaine and heroin. So why do you think that weed is seen as a gateway drug and not alcohol? Because both are potentially addicting substances. Yeah, why do you think that alcohol isn't seen as a gateway drug?
Honestly, I don't remember like what's the actual difference between, you know, a drug and alcohol. Because
alcohol is a drug.
Well, how come when people say don't drink and do drugs? Are they talking about drugs and also do drugs?
No. So I believe.
Like, how come when people are like mentioning it, they say alcohol and drugs?
I
not just say drugs.
I believe that's because of. I think it's because alcohol is so socially acceptable. It's not seen as a drug because, in societal views, drugs are illegal substances that are bad for you and get you addicted. But alcohol is a legal substance that's pretty much everyone does, and it's just not seen as the same because it's legal and so commonly used. Yeah.
Well, you don't think that marijuana is like cannabis? You don't think that's a drug?
It is. I'm saying alcohol is a drug, and so is weed. And I'm saying people don't see alcohol as a drug.
Well, also, a lot of people don't see weed as a drug either. They see it as a herb.
I think that's just people who use it don't see it as a drug.
Just like, it's a part of nature, man. God damn it. Jeez.
But,
this is still the first point, by the way, about the gateway.
Yeah, actually.
Of the D.A.R.E program.
There was a study of 12th graders published in the Journal of School Health that indicated that if there is a gateway drug, alcohol would be a more likely culprit. And
what else? I'm not even looking at the article that you're reading, actually.
A 2012 review in Drug and Alcohol Dependence noted that 83.2% of hard drug users in Japan have never touched cannabis. And a RAND report in 2010 found some evidence that liberal marijuana laws in the Netherlands slightly decreased the number of young weed smokers that tried other drugs. And I believe... Oh, yeah. So, D.A.R.E used to claim marijuana as a gateway drug, but there was a change in the D.A.R.E program a few years back, and now they say it's more alcohol and tobacco are the gateway drugs, which I think is more accurate, because those are the legal drugs that people are more likely... I wouldn't even say more likely to try.
Likely, there's more of a chance.
Well, I think I read that most kids try weed before even trying alcohol. I don't know if it's most or just a portion, but I think the point is that any accessible, not substantially harmful substance could be seen as a gateway drug.
Oh, you actually just brought up a point, though.
What?
The difference between the accessibility of alcohol and marijuana is like substantial. It's like a pretty big difference in terms of how you acquire each one. Okay, so with alcohol, I don't really see any other way to get it other than the store unless you want to make it yourself, and that's just a process I really doubt any teen would want to do.
That's right.
And then with marijuana, it's just like you can go to your friend's buddy's cousin who's growing it in his basement and just be like, can I get like fucking a joint? Honestly, I forgot marijuana terms.
Well, you're an amateur.
I am an amateur weedist.
But no. So I think in some cases we can be easier for kids to get, because dealers will sell to anyone. It doesn't matter their age. That's just part of the business. With alcohol, if a kid wants it, they either have to get someone to buy it for them or get like a fake ID or something, which is not always an easy option. If marijuana were legalized, that would upset the market of the drug dealers, because that's taking away business from them. So there might be less kids who are trying it, since it will be hard to obtain.
Well, I do believe that it would take away the business from actual like drug dealers, because big pharmaceutical companies would just be like, oh, let me patent purple haze.
What was it? Synthetic weed was created so it could be patented. I don't know much about that subject though, but I know you can't. That's the reason why pharmaceutical companies they're not interested in weed, just because they can't patent it and make money off of it, really.
Well, they're actually like looking for ways to patent it though. It's not like they just stopped trying. Like,
well, how can you patent a plant?
Basically, big pharma. I know it's like, how do you patent a plant? And they can't. But what they're trying to do is patent a certain, like, a very specific chemical. Yeah, not a strain, a chemical that's inside of marijuana itself.
Like CBD?
Yeah, like CBD or the THC in it. They're trying to, like, I guess make a pill out of it. Or, like, basically that's what pharmaceutical companies are kind of trying to do, to actually make mad money.
I think dispensaries just kind of defeat any pharmaceutical attempts. But
dispensaries?
Yeah.
Like
weed dispensaries.
What do you mean by weed dispensaries?
A weed store.
Just a weed store? Oh, okay.
Yeah. You never heard of dispensaries?
No.
Yeah, and like that's just what the store is called.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like what?
Like California and other places. All right, so finally moving on to topic number 2.
Well, I guess D.A.R.E's like beginning lie, or why they failed.
These are just reasons why, these are just lies that D.A.R.E is told. Yeah, so number 2 is drugs cause crime.
Well, marijuana. Is it just drugs or just marijuana?
It says drugs.
Okay.
So basically D.A.R.E would say that drugs will increase crime, but there's a little to back it up. So drug use in Mexico is about 2%, while in America it's around 8%. Yet violence in Mexico is at an all-time high. So it's not just because there's little drug uses doesn't mean that there's little crime. Can you tell me more about this?
Oh, you're really gonna make me open up this article?
You didn't have it open?
No,
you're not professional.
Not this whole dang time.
All right. Well, I believe I don't think drugs really increase crime. I think the illegal drugs increase crime just because how the black market works.
Black market. What about like drug wars right now?
Yeah, that's
marijuana.
That's
because but with the marijuana,
that's because
it's not
illegal.
just cocaine.
That's because it's illegal. If they made it legal, then there wouldn't really be as much issues.
Going back to this point, we still can't make it legal for like teens to get a hold of it. So let's say they make it illegal to drug deal, and they can only make big pharmaceutical companies like dispensaries or I don't know whatever sell weed. So let's say it's almost as accessible as.
Just to be clear, pharmaceuticals and dispensaries.
They're two different things.
They're two different things. They don't share anything. But go on.
But I still feel like pharmaceutical companies would profit out of it being legalized. But
it takes money away from them because illegal drugs can be used for medical reasons, and that means that the pharmaceutical companies are selling less medicine. So,
since dispensaries are selling, you think like drug dealing is going to decrease?
Illegal drug dealing?
Illegal drug dealing, yeah. Like what's basically happening now.
Yeah.
What about if they start charging, substantial amount for marijuana at a dispensary or wherever, and then the drug dealers, let's say it's legal now, and all of a sudden they're just growing it and they're selling it for cheaper. They're still drug dealing.
Well, I don't think that's really the case in the places where it is legal. I believe it's cheaper than ever in places like California and Colorado compared to when you had to buy from dealers. So it's...
You don't think drug dealing's a thing at all in California then?
I think it is. I don't think it's not nearly as big though.
California's its own little species of state.
I suppose.
There's a lot going on with that, with succeeding and...
But if weed were legal, then the market would not... It wouldn't be as big for the black market business.
It wouldn't be as big, but I still feel like your local drug dealer is still going to be hostile towards other people trying to, put them out of business, technically.
I mean...
Still be just as hostile, because it's still...
Who are they going to attack?
Other drug dealers. Anyone trying to take away their... Like, that's kind of how it is now. Like, you ever hear the phrase, like, don't fuck with your dealer?
Yeah.
Like,
but...
Let's say you go to...
There's going to be less competition.
The dealers are going to have more competition, so they're going to be more hostile.
There's going to be less...
don't believe that?
No, I don't...
It's going to be like a more competitive market if it's legalized, in my opinion. It might decrease drug dealing because some people might... I guess genuine drug dealers might just be like, oh, you know what? I don't need to make money anymore. I did God and the earth a good justice by selling this herb to the planet. And then you have other people saying, like, this is how I make a living. And now the government wants to take away me making a living by selling, my making it illegal. And
well, the government has always wanted to take that away. That's nothing new.
I mean, you're not wrong, but wait, take away how we make a living?
Taking away drugs. It's always been illegal to deal drugs.
Yeah, but it's still...
So
I still think it's
saying making weed legal is going to be like, oh, the government's trying to take away my fucking job. That's always been their goal.
Yeah, but that's what these people are going to think. They're like, oh, the government's trying to take away my damn job.
That's nothing new though. Like,
yeah, it's nothing new, but it's still gonna continue. That's all I'm trying to say. Even legalized.
I don't think it's going to be as big. I believe crime has significantly decreased in Portugal, where all drugs are decriminalized.
All drugs?
Yeah.
I guess what Portugal, their experiment that they did by legalizing all drugs is like people can do whatever to their body that they want, right? Like, you ever hear that?
Yeah,
that point.
I kind of believe that too. I don't think someone should be able to tell me I can or can't do this to my own body.
At least in America.
Well, anywhere. I don't think they should be able to anywhere.
Oh, that's what you believe? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like that, but
yeah. That's what I think.
Isn't America just a great place? It is, actually.
Alright,
God bless America.
Number 3.
Just one dose will get you addicted.
Do you believe that one dose of hitting a Juul will get you addicted to vaping?
If it's got nicotine in it, and then there's more factors to it than just it has nicotine in it. Like you said before, it could be a mental thing. Like, getting addicted to weed can be a mental thing. It's more mental than actually physical. So, especially if it has nicotine in it, where people like the calming high from it, or just the calming feeling from it.
Just the head high, I guess.
Yeah, honestly.
This part isn't about Juuls. So,
well, doesn't it? I guess it talks about like one dose of whatever drug.
Yeah. So, heroin, one of the most addictive drugs. Only 23% of users become dependent, according to this drugabuse.gov. And cigarettes or nicotine is 32%. alcohol is 15, cocaine is 17, marijuana is 9%. So saying you will definitely become addicted to something on your first try is not true. There is the risk, but that can always be negated if so desired. I don't know. I think
while like on this topic of addiction, it's kind of like a big, I guess it used to be something super controversial, but the topic of like, is addiction a disease? So let's say you hit the vape once, or you take that first, Julie, that Julie, and then all of a sudden, let's say we're born with this addiction, this disease of addiction, and now you take that hit, and now you want to vape every single day of your life. Like, do you believe that addiction is a disease? I know there's a shit ton of things that go into it, and we're probably not even educated enough to actually talk about this. But
I don't think it's a disease. I think it's just more of a. I think it's mainly a mental thing. It's mainly a mental thing. If you have enough willpower, you can get over anything. But sometimes people just don't have that willpower. Yeah.
In an article from Psychology Today, which is I consider to be citable, they basically just talk about the actual truth of addiction, where they done a study where people are just able to kick their habits of drinking alcohol and doing drugs without going to like rehab or any sort of.
I've read that like people who smoke cigarettes for several years, I heard that if they take magic mushrooms for the first time, sometimes that will completely get rid of their addiction.
Why magic mushrooms? Can't say I've heard that.
But there was studies on it. I don't have the studies up, but yeah, like don't take what I say as fact.
Yeah, it's like don't quote us, please.
Yeah.
Actually, you can quote us, but if we say some really dumb shit, like we said before,
this entire podcast.
This entire podcast. Yeah, this entire podcast is just one big conglomerate of, I don't know.
We're not professionals yet.
Yeah, we're not professionals. It's our first podcast.
We'd like to get to the point of being professionals, but
I mean, we're gonna try not to be professional, but we want to actually, be educated on what the hell we're talking about.
We want to be.
Yeah.
Another thing is, you'll get flashbacks for the rest of your life. So, this comes from
that was another lie from D.A.R.E.
Well, this comes from some people who say after taking acid or shrooms that they see flashbacks that remind them of the trip. Now, this could be a few things. In this article, it talks about how after the first few days, there's a rare chance of getting like mild flashbacks, so to say, for a second or two, but it's not like intense or anything. I've heard some anecdotal reports that it could be PTSD from the trip if it was really a not good experience. That
like a weed experience or a magic mushroom experience? Psychedelic?
Yeah.
Well, there is a possibility of, obtaining psychosis, which I'm sure you know what that is.
That is possible.
That's a thing, especially even with marijuana. It actually just affects your brain.
That is true. It is very susceptible. It is very rare, but can you explain psychosis?
Psychosis is basically when you start seeing things that aren't there, but it's not. What's the name of that?
Schizophrenia.
Yeah, it's not schizophrenia. I believe that's something you end up obtaining like as you age, like when you something that happens when you're younger, like you get abused.
Schizophrenia?
Yeah, schizophrenia. Is that something where you're born with?
I think it's something you're born with, but like...
Or something you can obtain...
I don't think you can obtain it. I think it just, I think that's just how you're born, and it doesn't happen until later in life.
I think it is something you're born with. But yeah, the thing with psychosis is something that you can obtain. It's not something you are born with. And it's kind of like... a slightly more mild form of schizophrenia, but it's still terrifying, and you're still seeing things that aren't there, and it can be nice nightmarish things.
That is true.
That is true indeed.
Yeah, one important part of this podcast is that we don't just talk about topics from one side. We want to throw in some stuff from both sides. We won't always do that, but
so, like Jason and we're not mirror people. We don't have the same views, and we don't have the same beliefs. Let's just say that. But I feel like that's what will make this podcast interesting when more sessions and recordings come out.
That's right.
That's right indeed.
So the fifth part of the article, we already talked about it basically. It just talks about how D.A.R.E failed, and there's a lot of funding for it, but it didn't really do what it set out to do. So I suppose it's time that we move on. Okay, so going back to artificial fear, I kind of skimmed over it. So
like the actual point of this very first podcast.
So it's a term I kind of came up with. There's probably already a word for it, but I'm going to be calling it artificial fear. So how I define it is using false information, or just not nothing really fact-based to prove a point, when really there is no harm in that.
So basically telling people something's bad when there actually isn't bad.
Correct. For using
so it's like made up fear.
fake reasons, whether intentional or not.
Like we talked about with the 100 cigarettes in one Juul pod.
Yes.
Which is
so
yeah.
An example of this. So cursing.
All
right. Question for you, Pizzo.
What the fuck do you want?
10 years from now, you have a little kid. He's like 5 or 6 years old. Comes up to you. He's like, "Hey, Daddy," and you say,
"Yes, son.
I just took a huge shit."
Does his voice just get deeper?
Yeah, it gets really deep for no reason. It's like the first time it's like deep.
I would be
so
proud
what do
that
you
he
say?
hit puberty. He hit puberty. When then, I think I would be mad. I would be mad that he said shit, because I don't want my kid going around saying like curse words like shit, fuck.
But why would you be angry at him for lacking knowledge in something?
Honestly,
when he's young,
I was thinking about this earlier. Like, it was just how I was raised. That's why I would get upset.
That's right. So,
I guess that proved your point.
I don't think aggression is the proper way to.
Well, I don't think getting upset's beating like the same as beating my child for saying shit.
I don't think that's right, because the child doesn't know any better. He doesn't even understand what the connotation of the word. So I believe that there's nothing.
Actually, how old was my kid?
6.
He's 6. What if he was 11 years old? And then what? How about this?
What
if he was 13 years old, a teenager going into high school?
Is it the first time you said a curse?
In front of, the parent? Yeah.
Yeah.
Say that.
I don't think it really changes.
My little sister is 3 years old, and she started cursing because they would hear my family, and they wouldn't like do anything bad. They would just be like, "Oh no, don't say words like that."
I think that's more of the way to handle it. Personally, how I would handle it, I would explain to them that there is nothing wrong with saying curse words, but
it's just how our culture is.
You shouldn't be using them in front of people who don't want to hear it, and unfortunately, a lot of people don't want to hear these words. So why do you? Why do you think people don't want to hear these words?
Because that's how they were raised, and also it goes into the point of religion where a curse word is a sin. So even saying the word curse, and this is why people replace curse with cuss, can be like, ooh, a curse? Like, God, that goes against my religion of Jesus. And it's like you're going to hell if you say, I don't know, fuck, or douche, or something. Do I look like a cursing professional?
Well, you've been cursing a lot on this podcast, so yes.
Yeah, well, I was kind of trying to ease into the point, which I knew we were going to talk about it eventually.
Yeah. So, there's nothing wrong with cursing, but people will try to say that there is something wrong with it. But in actuality,
but before
it's
you just said you shouldn't curse in front of someone that doesn't want to hear curses. So
because they would get angry, and you can't go through life just pissing everyone off.
You can't go through life pissing everyone off.
If someone doesn't want to hear something, then
that's like trying to prove a point to anybody, though. If you're trying to, let's say someone talks about Adam and Eve, and let's say that I guess it's the talking snake that's the devil, and I'm sure there's a few different representations of this, but if you take it literally, it's just a talking snake talking to someone saying, you better not touch this fucking apple, or like a lot of like you're going to hell or whatever, everything's gonna go to shit if you touch this apple. And then they like keep talking about like, really, don't touch the apple. And then they end up doing it. So if you try to explain to someone why why that doesn't really make any sense about a talking snake telling the first two people on the planet to not do something, like, people don't want to hear that either, though, right? People just want to say, yeah, that's just the story.
People don't want their minds. People don't want their minds changed. They're set on how they're raised, and that's just how things are. And trying to change their perspectives just won't usually work. Just because they're not open-minded.
Well, what do you do when someone's not open-minded like that? It's like, you can try all you want, but a lot of people, especially on the left, I'd have to say, even though you are on the left, are usually not open-minded. Like, they just would rather feel something rather than actually think it through with, the actual facts of what's going on.
I think you can say the same thing about conservatives, though. I don't think it's a political thing. I think it's more of a people thing.
Oh, yeah, but I'm just saying an example.
Yeah. That's actually an interesting point. So, what are your political views?
Oh, we're not done with the cursing part yet. Calm down.
Well, what do you want to add to it?
Well, what are you going to do when your kid says, I just took a big shit?
I already said I would explain to them that there's nothing wrong with it, but you shouldn't be using that word in front of people who don't want to hear it.
So what's your point of cursing then? Like, why did we even bring up that cursing isn't actually bad? Like, we didn't even explain that. You didn't even explain that, and you were supposed to explain that to me, why cursing actually is bad.
It's not actually bad, though.
Okay,
I explain why it's not bad, because it's just a word that words, means. Yeah. So why is "but" an acceptable word, but not "ass"? And that's just because the word "ass" has just been seen as a not nice word, and people don't want to hear that.
Well, if you're not referring to
even though the meaning is exactly the same as "but" the connotation is different, and people in our society just see it as different.
All right. Well, so I guess there really is nothing we can do as people, to try to change someone's mind on why cursing actually isn't bad, because,
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's really a solution to it.
It's just food for thought.
Yeah, it's just food for thought.
But I'm still wondering, let's say you just told your kid that cursing isn't bad, but then he says shit, and you tell him, oh, don't say that. He's gonna be like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Because he's an edgy teen.
He's an edgy teen, but you just said it's bad, and then you just said, like, okay.
Well, I said
it's not bad.
You shouldn't be using it because people see it as bad.
So I guess, like, your point, I'm trying to still figure out your point on it.
What don't you understand?
You just contradicted your own son. Like, you contradicted yourself. I mean,
how?
You told him it's bad, and that it's not bad.
I know. When did I say it's bad?
You told the kid, to not say it anymore. So the kid's gonna be like,
I didn't say it's bad.
So let's say the kid says, "Oh, why can't I say it if it's not bad?"
Because people don't want to hear that. Because they think it's bad.
Why do they think it's bad?
Because
as the kid,
because that's how we were raised.
Uh, so do you think we should raise our kids to, not care about these words?
Not. I think we should teach them to be.
This is a part of artificial fear
I
where
think we should raise them to be okay with it, but not necessarily use it around people who don't want to hear it. I don't think we should be.
You're okay with conforming to society.
Not conforming, just being part of it.
So just playing along with people who don't want to curse. So you don't actually have to curse. Basically, I feel like that's just going to give anyone like the idea that it is bad then. If you saying you can't curse around people who don't want to hear it, they're just going to think, all right, it's still a bad word, even though...
I think that's fine if they think that. It's okay if someone thinks that cursing is bad, and it'll I don't know what they think will happen.
Why?
But
you're saying it's okay. I don't think it's okay. It's a part of someone's vocabulary. I mean, it shouldn't be completely a part of it, because I was raised, if you say it a lot, it's really annoying. Especially like a whole group of curse words, a whole paragraph doesn't sound.
Yeah, I think I find excessive cursing annoying, but I think that's just because of how we were raised. Again, I don't think there's anything wrong with cursing at all. Just that people think that there's something wrong with it.
Yeah. So, getting into artificial fear, what's another topic that people were like lied to about other than jewel pods and even cursing, where cursing isn't actually as bad as it is, like as just words?
The D.A.R.E program.
What we talked about for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Smash 4, Super Smash Brothers. See, people say it's an awful game. Personally, I don't think it's that bad. And there's some people that think that Brawl is good.
I don't think they're bad games. I just don't find them enjoyable. I think Melee is the best of the series.
Fucking casual. Okay, competitive, not casual.
Smash 4 is casual.
Yeah. I miss those days of being in school and playing on our 3DS, right?
Back in the day.
Back in the day.
Before school started, we'd bring our 3DSs and just play before class started.
That would actually just bring all of us together. Whatever friends we had in school, which are now not really our friends anymore.
It was anyone who was just like in the area who wanted to play.
Yeah.
We would like loan them our 3DSs and then just play 4-player matches. And
I mean, it was god awful to play free-for-alls, but it was still like...
It's fun, though.
It was social, and that's what was kind of cool about, being together.
Brought
but
people
now,
together.
We're out of high school now. We're actually, both of us aren't in college.
But we do play Smash.
Yes, we do. We do still play Smash, but, everyone else that we did play Smash with is out of our lives, either because they were unmoral people or immoral people.
I think it's mainly just because I don't know, like
I think
most of the people just like we weren't very close with, and when school ended we just stopped seeing each other, and we never really like hung out before, so I don't know.
Well, what do you think about like the idea of, let's say, you always having the text first? Like, I'm not even just talking about a girl. I'm just talking about any friendship with a guy. Oh my god, talking to another guy, texting another guy, that's fucking gay. Like, we're standing 5 feet within each other. That's gay, obviously.
That's not really gay.
I know, it's a thing. It's a meme. So it's like, you're not going to become friends with said person unless you keep texting them, calling them, trying to talk to them. And I guess at that point, if they're not being receptive in any way, probably not going to be your friend in the end, right? What do you think about that? Like, I guess there's nothing you can do, like, no matter how hard you try.
Are you saying that some people just don't want to...
Well, I'm trying to talk, like, socially, like, as a group. Like, a lot of people... Here, my point is, a lot of people always say they want to have, like, a bunch of friends, or, oh man, I really need a good friend right now. And then it's like, okay, someone comes up, and I'm not just talking about myself, I'm talking about a lot of, like, teenagers, I guess, growing up, and people in general, looking for, not, I don't know, people to talk to or some shit. And someone comes along to the person saying like, I want someone to talk to, and they're like, hey, I'll talk, and the person's like, disgusting, like, you're gay, or you're like, I have a boyfriend.
That means that they're an asshole.
Yeah, so and then it's like, that's a lot of people though, you know, being contradicting what like they tweeted or something.
I
post on Facebook.
I don't really understand the point, but yeah, that's.
Well, I mean, it's just, I don't know. I'm more food for thought.
Yeah.
The break room, everybody starts clapping.
Talk about random shit.
Well, that's the whole. Well, kind of like the whole point, right? We're just gonna be talking about actual random shit, random stuff. So, look, I had to correct myself from saying shit to stuff.
You said shit, though. Fear.
I know, I still did.
Are you a bad person?
I think I am. I think you're the bad person because he has 4 fidget spinners.
Those are like, religious symbols.
Alright, the one that has no corners. Religious symbol right there. Alright. I guess this is where we're ending it off. We are actually 49 minutes in, almost 50 minutes. And, damn, I'm so sorry if you actually listened to all 49 minutes and 26 seconds of this.
I'm sure it was a great time for all of you. I guess the 2 of you who listens to this podcast.
Yeah, if you guys actually do, if whoever's listening gets this far into it, congratulations. I'm so sorry though.
Thanks for listening.
I hope you got something out of this.
We have plenty of topics for upcoming episodes. So let us know what we can improve upon. Call us fucking assholes if you want.
More cursing. I get offended.
You've been cursing way more than I have.
Well, I get offended by cursing. So what?
Is that why you do it?
Yeah. Well, I just can you just not curse anymore? It goes against my religion.
Fuck your religion.
Oh, okay. All right, and
all right.
This is where we're off.
I guess
I'm
that's
Pizzo.
It. I'm Jason.
And
this was the break.
We're getting off break. That was the worst exit line of all time.